And we continue with the Davenport Football University Signing Day special here at dupanthers.com. And I'm Rick Berkey, head coach Sparky McEwen is here. We certainly enjoyed going over the mid-year transfers for the football program. Now we're going to touch on the high school signees. And let's get a general impression right now, not maybe of your signings, just in general of the program's high school quality of high school in Michigan. Compare it maybe to 5 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe when you played, even beyond that. You know, what's the level of high school ball in Michigan, Coach?
It's something that you asked that is, because coaches, we always, we see each other on the camp circuit and we talk about the quality of play in the state of Michigan, the quality of players that are coming out, the talent of players that are coming out. We felt that this year, the talent, level was up, this year. And if you take a look at what we've done here in the past, I've had a number of players from, out of state, okay? But this year, we were able to capture a number of local and statewide signings here in the state of Michigan. And, when you're in a conference like the GLIAC and all these schools, the pickings get slim. But we were able to, just because of what you're saying, it was a little deeper this year in the state of Michigan, and we were able to attract some of that talent and stay home locally. So we were pretty excited. We were pretty excited about the group that we put together. We always call it our future. When you think about our program and you start looking at some of the guys that has played in our program, it always comes back to some of those guys that we brought in here as freshmen. I'm a big believer in our foundation of freshman kids, and we'll bridge the gap with transfers, and that's what successful programs are going to do in this new age of recruiting with the portal and everything. So from that standpoint, I'm excited about it.
We should mention something. We always have to do that in this signing special. If you're watching it later, and if we are recording this on Wednesday, February 5th at 1 p.m., and these are the signings as of this moment. We are only allowed to talk about players who have signed and committed from high school to play at Davenport. Anybody that came on after that was not included. So let's get to the alphabetical listing of the signings so far. First of all, from West Bloomfield High School over on the east side, offensive lineman Dwayne Broom.
Dwayne comes from that, that list of talented football players over at West Bloomfield and that great, program. We're excited for him. If you take a look, he's got great size, good athleticism, and, Devin, our offensive line coach, he's been talking about him quite a bit, so we're excited for his future here.
Pretty good size also coming on the defensive line, 6 foot, 250-pounder out of Portage Northern, former Husky, Emmanuel Browning.
Coming from another good program over there, and what we try to do in recruiting is recruit a class of starters, okay? And this young man has had a good career there, and just bringing them back over here and giving them an opportunity to come here and learn. Typically what happens, with your freshmen, these guys are going to come in, especially in a program, that's established now. And typically they're going to come in and they're going to redshirt, okay? But at the same time, you've been around me now. If we feel like there's a freshman that can impact us, he'll play right away, So the hopes is that they come in and we can develop them, and then we can play them later on. And, nothing like having your high school homegrown talent.
Not too far from here, Hudsonville High School had a memorable high school season last year. You were able to secure the talents of a young linebacker from Hudsonville, Ethan Carter.
Man, they had a talented team this year. The OK Red's always talented, by the way, but they had quite the talented team. And this young man, he had a number of, takers here for his talents. And it's not often that they come in at this size. Okay, we were able to, get this young man with size and mixed with some good speed, very physical football player. He's just going to mix well in that linebacker room.
In the defensive back area from Lansing, went to Everett High School, and I apologize on the first name, Coach, Nizjai Davidson.
Not bad at all. And I'm going to tell you something else. This guy here is not bad as an athlete. He will get after it, and once he gets here, we'll figure out exactly what position he'll play in the secondary. But he flies around, great speed, good body on him. One of the things that we wanted to do this year is, take it to another level as far as the athleticism in the talented guys that we would bring in here. We wanted guys that could potentially play multiple positions, and this is one of those guys that could definitely do that.
This guy, Nizjai, it's already got a ring to it, Coach. Mm-hmm. Work on that. All right, from Stevensville, another proud program over there, Lakeshore High School from Stevensville, Jake Dendoven.
Once you start recruiting these young men and some of their teammates before them, the alumni have success, it's easy to go back into those doors. And those coaches over there have done a tremendous job. And once again, we've got another linebacker, a guy that can run, a guy that we feel is going to be developed. And eventually, when it all says, it shakes out, he's going to be a guy that's going to put up some good numbers here.
Another one of those former Eagles from Hudsonville High School joins the program, 5'11" wide receiver Carson Dykstra.
Carson, we offered in the summer. We offered him in the summer, and we like what we saw in him, and then he started picking up more traction in this thing. And, he's one that we also feel that he's possibly going to come here and run track as well. He's that type of athlete, come from a great background, family of athletes, and just having that type of competitor here in our program, those are the type of kids that we look for.
You've had a few guys that have played multiple sports here. How does that work in terms of sharing an athlete, with two coaches, cooperation usually is pretty high on that level.
Yeah, I have a pretty good relationship with our guys. We've had guys that played football and baseball. We've had guys that played football and track. We've had guys that played football and rugby, football and wrestling. I was one of those guys, that played collegially and wanted to play multiple sports. And I tell my guys this here: if you can handle it, in the classroom and that workload, of practice, I said, more power to you. You get one shot to do this. But as soon as those grades slip, we just got to, focus on the priority sport. So we've been open with it, and our coaches here at DU do a tremendous job of welcoming them with open arms as well. We just want them to make sure that, they can hold together in the classroom as well as on the court of the field.
From Roseville, Michigan, good size in the defensive backfield at 6'2" for Hanklin Elston.
Yeah, we wanted to go long. We wanted to get longer in the secondary, and we feel like in this conference here, the error for margin is so slim. So you need those long, DBs, guys that can run with length, that can tackle out in space. And, getting him here, he had a number of teams here for his services as well. But getting him here in our scheme, our secondary, man, we're starting to become DBU. We had the All-American, and then we had Christian Jones, which is all-conference GLIAC. Each year we're starting to put out guys that are doing one heck of a job, in the secondary.
From the capital city area, East Lansing High School, defensive back Daryl Jeter.
Here's a young man that, believe it or not, he's already here. And this is one of those freshmen that you talk about potentially that can help you year one. What a talent. This is a young man that was committed to Grand Valley State University. And when you start, having guys, like that was committed to other bigger schools, you're in the mix for a good, talented, quality young man. And getting him here, outstanding in the classroom. He's already taken full load of classes, and he's doing one heck of a job for us. So I'm excited for his future here.
From Canton, Michigan, over on the east side, running back Alex Guadagni. Am I saying that right? Guadagni?
You're pretty good. I think Ryan has helped you out pretty much here. So, yeah, here's another, as you know, we lost some talent in that running back room. We lost 3 of those kids in that running back, actually 4 of those running backs in that running back room, 4 of our top 5. So going in and getting some of those young guys that come in, they're going to have a chance to play early, depending on how they get in here and how hard they work and how quickly they pick up on our scheme. Here's a young man that could potentially come in here and add to the depth that we have here.
You look at him at 5'9", 185 running back, and sometimes coaches like to project where they see him in 2 or 3 years size-wise. Is that the kind of guy that you see you want to beef him up a little bit?
Well, we look at those guys with all our guys. We do what we call a body type. We go and we body type these guys, see if they're going to have a lot more room for growth, or if that's going to be it for them. Obviously when they get here and they go through our weight program, which our guy Michi does a tremendous job. All the athletes will tell you that. So when it comes to recruiting, you got to do that. You got to project a young man and what's he going to look like. You got 17, 18-year-olds, okay? What's he going to look like when he's 20, 21, and then how does it fit in our scheme, So that plays a major part, a major role in what we do when we recruit the guys here.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Coach. I don't think you've ever had a player from Zionsville, Indiana, Zionsville High School product, Dietrich Hartwig, an offensive lineman, 6'3", 270.
No, he's the first, and they do a good job down there. And I tell you what, Devin did a really good job of recruiting this young man. Here's a young man once again. He comes in, learns our system, gets into our weight and strength conditioning program, and he could have a bright future here.
From the mid-Michigan area, Portland High School product, offensive lineman, another offensive lineman at 6'3", Cody Hengsbach.
You know, you never can get too many big guys, okay? You never can get too many big guys, and this is one that, Coach Russell, once again, has spent some time, watching him in the summers, and then obviously getting an opportunity to bring him here because after this year, we're going to have a veteran offensive line, but that following year, we're going to lose a lot of guys like we did those receivers and those running backs.
Local product, right from East Kentwood High School, just down the road from where we speak right now. Sincere Hobson, defensive lineman again at 6'2", 285.
We've been watching him for some time. We thought this is one that has a tremendous ceiling on him, and he comes in here. He's done a great job in the classroom. If he comes here and gets into our strength and conditioning program, he could find himself in the mix early. Because we did lose some guys on that interior defensive line. Here's one that he's very competitive, but he's also one that we felt like at that size, he was a pretty good athlete as well.
Another young man joining the kicking carousel from that Hudsonville High School program. I believe he had a game-winning kick at the end of the game to win an OK Red game, Ian Jenkins.
Yes, he did. And, once again, when you go and get kickers of this magnitude from, quality schools like Hudsonville that's playing in big football games, meaningful football games, those are the kind of people that you want in your program. So when it comes time to make a big kick, he's accustomed to it. He's done it in some of those big games in OK Red. So once again, here's a guy that could come in here and he could play early in his career. He's going to have a great opportunity to come in and compete and may the best man win.
All right, joining the wide receiver room from Dexter, Michigan, Dexter High School product, Jaden Juback.
Jaden, we've been watching him for a couple years now, and, we've had a long list of, really good receivers here. He looked like and reminded me of a couple guys, Nate Couture. He reminded me of Coot. When watching him.
That's high praise, yeah.
But, once again, it's high praise, but you're just going to have to come in here and put in the work. And my deal is I think this is a young man. He's got a high football IQ. He's one that can come in and compete early. And then because when you got you lose 7 of your top 8, everybody's got a shot. And I think he's one young man that could step in and play early.
When you bring in the wide receivers, especially from the high school room, do you already have them targeted as X, Y, or Z position, or do you kind of say, well, let's see how it plays out, and we might move him over somewhere else?
It's fluid. It's one of those deals where, we have an idea if it's an outside guy or inside guy, and then just like him, he just so happens to be a guy that I feel like can go inside or outside, okay? It goes back to, though, here we go, his size, his development, how much more is he going to grow, how quick is he, how much length does he have? There's a number of things that factor in, and he's one of those young guys that all I know is this here. He's not limited on talent. He's a very talented young man. I think he's one that if he picks up on scheme, he might be in the mix as a true freshman.
From the Cereal City, Battle Creek, Harper Creek product, offensive lineman Zach Kitchen.
Another good area over there that we've always, through my times there at up in Big Rapids, where the Battle Creek area, you're always able to go in there and find a few good linemen, and this just is another product of that area. Going over there to take a look at him, and he's going to have an opportunity here, and he's working with a good room right now, a good room of depth, so that first year all these guys can learn from a veteran offensive line.
Back to the wide receiver room from Saline, Michigan, Saline High School product, Jaden Leonard.
He's one that we got late. He's built more in that slot. That slot position, a guy that can, make some plays, comes from a very, very good, high reputable program, has won a lot, but you need this type of athleticism in that slot position.
Very successful program not too far from here, Belding, Michigan, the Belding Black Knights, another wide receiver. Cody Manley, 6'2", 200, had an outstanding high school career at Belding.
He did. Coming from that offense, sometimes it's a little difficult to get a good evaluation on young men. We had a guy up at Ferris by the name of Jake Lampman that came from a similar type of offense, and then he ended up being a great receiver. This guy's kind of in that same mode. but he's a big body guy if you notice. So here's a guy that we'll get in here, and we'll figure out exactly what position he could play as we be able to get our hands on him and see exactly what he could do.
You mentioned the powerful OK Red High School Football Conference. Well, Granville High School is certainly a part of that, right nearby Granville. And you've got defensive lineman Emery Moody coming over to join you.
Yeah, Emery had a pretty good career. The head coach there and his staff has done a tremendous job of building the culture there and their work ethic. And, the Granville kids, they come in here, man, they always work hard and they find they'll find their way to the field, and so going back there was easy for us to do. These guys already have an understanding, a sense of what they need to do in order to have success at this level. And this young man gets to come in and learn early and continue to pick up, our system and build, his strength and conditioning, and hopefully at some point get on the field.
You've already mentioned a number of times the openings you've got in the wide receiver room. Well, here's another addition to that from LaGrange Park, Illinois, James Fenley, wide receiver.
Penley, and this guy right here is probably of the crew that's coming in. We've got a talented group of young freshman receivers. And I was just really worried because we lost so much talent in that room. I wanted to make sure that we were bringing some guys that could potentially play early, or some guys that could sit behind some guys that are pretty good and be ready that following year, And here's one that was pretty decorated, comes from a good football program, and he's got a bright future here.
To the quarterback room, a high school transfer from Plymouth High School here in Plymouth on the east side. 6'2", 195, good size for quarterback Logan Pfeiffer.
Logan's an athlete. We recruited him as an athlete. We'll figure it out once he gets on campus. A guy of this length and speed, sometimes you get to the point where you get the offense arguing over him, the defense is arguing over him. Say, hey, let's figure it out. He's such a good athlete. Let's figure it out. Let's get him here, see what he can do, and then just kind of go from there.
From the Capital Region, at East Lansing High School, another running back, 5'11", 175-pound, Duarte Sams Jr.
Yeah, he's got a bright future. And, one of the things about Lansing, Coach Walker does a really good job, and Coach B does a good job of looking at the talent over there. And for us, the way we have to recruit, our hopes is that we can go find guys that are what we call diamonds in the rough, guys that, you could, through our player development program, that, once they're here with us and are doing things the right way, these are guys that can see the field pretty quick, but at the same time, we've got to go above and beyond to find some of these type of talents, that could fit what we do here at DU.
Back to the defensive line from Detroit Central High School, 6-foot Kalen Scott.
Scott, coming from a well-coached program, he's a young man that's tough. He's been in the trenches. He gets it. He knows exactly how to compete. And, he comes into a situation where, we've gotten thin. Okay, he'll have an opportunity to play early. And here's another young man that he gets it. He's been in some tough games, back where he's at. So we look for guys, that comes in here that's been competing, that's been winning, and that's just tough. And he's kind of the guy that, fits that tab for us.
Another young man joining the offensive line with Coach Russell and going to work is from Brighton High School in Brighton, Michigan, Braden Stimmel.
Brighton has been, one of those schools that, they've got a great, offensive line, group that comes through there yearly. And it just so happens to be that we were able to finally tap into that deal. I got tired of seeing some of those guys go elsewhere, and we were able to go in there and get one of their, linemen to come here. They understand work ethic. They understand, what it means to compete, and just having him in that class again. I was very pleased with the group of offensive linemen, that we were able to sign.
In my high school programs I do on local radio here in Grand Rapids, certain names keep popping up, and there was one that kept popping up all last fall. A young quarterback from Byron Center High School and Byron Center Bulldog, Landon Tungate, had a fantastic high school career for the Bulldogs. Yeah,
I've been watching him for some time, and here's a young man that, what I'll spend time talking about is his athleticism. He's one of those guys that, he led them, and he's been leading them. He's won a lot of football games. But you want to talk about a tough, competitive dude, this is who he is. He's very tough. He's very competitive. And coming here for us, he's won a lot of football games, So one of the things we wanted to do when we recruited, we wanted to get some guys, number one, that was good in the classroom, and number two, that was tough and that's won games, and that's what he does. All he does is win. And then in part of that process, he's extremely tough and competitive. So watch him from a distance, and I think getting him here, he had a number of D2 programs that was in on him, but keeping him close, here, that was very important to me. I think he's got a bright future. I think he's a young man that, once he gets going, once he's here on this campus, we're going to figure out what we need to do to get him on the field right away because he's one heck of a football player.
Well, joining Nizjai Davidson from Everett High School in the Lansing area, defensive lineman, also on the same side of the ball as Nizjai, Karan Turnley.
Coach Walker, like I said before, spends time over in that Lansing capital area, and here's one that he constantly his name kept coming up, and he is tough. He's a tough physical football player, kind of undersized in there, but once you turn the tape on, you watch him play, once again, we want to take the best available, guys that we felt like that was extremely tough, that could potentially come in here. And once they get into our strength conditioning program, you're going to see him down the line be an impact player.
Well, you mentioned size just a little bit ago, Coach. Well, let's talk a little bit about size. How about 6'6", 330, offensive lineman from Harper Creek High School in Battle Creek, Brendan Van Sickle.
Remember, we talked about that Battle Creek area and finding some offensive linemen. They've done a really, really good job over there in that Battle Creek area with molding some of these linemen. And now all of a sudden you're getting some of that more size, that you need on the perimeter. And I think we've lacked that a little bit. The last couple of years it's been looking good there. So we're going to continue to tap into that Battle Creek area for linemen. But once again, I told you I'm pleased with this class of offensive linemen that we're bringing in here.
Joining Daryl Jeter from East Lansing High School, this is a defensive back, B.J. Wyndham.
Another guy with length. Here's a guy that we feel like can possibly do it at corner, possibly play it at safety. Good athlete, best available type deal. A guy that can come in. He's going to learn from some of the nice DBs that we have here in that DB room, and I think the future is extremely bright for him.
Well, you mentioned athlete. Here's our final high school recruit we're going to mention from Muskegon. Former Big Red, had a terrific career there. Quarterback James Young.
Saw him at camp. We've had him at camp for a couple of years, and you like these kind of stories where you've been able to watch these guys grow. And he first took note of him when he was at North Muskegon, and then he ended up transferring for his senior year to Muskegon to be a Big Red. But he's a guy that's put up some numbers, and the ball comes off his hand as nice as I've seen a high school kid throw a football. Okay, he's got good size if you notice, and we just feel once again in that quarterback room, our future is extremely bright. I wanted to make sure that in that quarterback room, that we don't have to look far, at all. We got some talented players in there, guys that will compete, guys that have won a lot of football games, and guys that are good leaders, So good group of guys. Very excited about that class, and I think our future is pretty bright.
Well, Coach, you mentioned spring practice starts in a couple of weeks. Tell us what's the layout, what's the plan right now, what will the guys be doing now and then, and what will they do once spring ball actually starts?
Well, for us, we're in that phase, for us that the strength conditioning piece is absolutely huge. Our guys understand that in order to have success in this conference, you got to be extremely successful in the weight room, and we take pride in our player developmental piece. This is a very, very important piece to us. And when I talk to people and they talk about the success that we've had here, a lot of it is I contributed to the fact that our strength conditioning piece here is second to none. It's one that we sit down, we talk about each player individually, we talk about where do we need to see them at. Do we need them to pick up weight? Do we need them to lose weight? We set forth goals, for these young people. So this one for me is as important of a piece than any, is that strength and conditioning piece. And then obviously we'll roll it right into spring. This will be a very, very physical spring. Each year, I don't know the direction I'm going to go with, our spring practices. But this year, because we have to reload this thing, and then we've got those younger players now that's been asked to step up, this will be as a physical a spring as that we've had here. So I'm excited about it. I think the future is bright, and our players are amped up and ready to welcome in these transfers and to have an outstanding spring.
Well, you're coming off the best 3-year run in the history of the program, and all things looking bright for another successful 2025. I want to thank Ryan Thompson, Sports Information, for his assistance with our production and all the videos that you've been able to enjoy with that. So the season will be right around here, right before you know it. Labor Day weekend, we'll be ready to get back at it and bring you the broadcasts, and so we're all excited about that as well.
Well, I'm excited about doing the state of the program with you too. I know that we do always in the spring, and it's been fun working with you. And this thing has gone fast. It's gone really fast. And maybe in the state of the program we can announce our schedule and all the other things that to come.
Let's shoot for that. Sounds really good. That'll wrap it up here from Davenport University. So one final time for Sparky McEwen, our head coach at Davenport. I'm Rick Berkey saying thanks for joining us, and go Panthers.